If you're somebody like me and you really hate conflict, in fact, just the thought of conflict kind of scares you, makes your palms sweat, makes your stomach feel all unsettled, gives you the Sunday scaries, keeps you awake in the middle of the night. If you're somebody who doesn't like conflict, you need to have conflict a lot more frequently and a lot more quickly than the average person. What? I know, it sounds completely weird, but let me give you a completely strange metaphor for how I think about it. Many, many years ago, I had a really bad incident with a dentist. I had fallen and smashed my teeth and need to have them fixed, and it was just really, really unpleasant. And that led to me being really afraid of the dentist because to me, the dentist meant something extremely painful. So the problem was that then for many years as a teenager and in my 20s, I just didn't go to the dentist. Well, you know what happens then? Then when you eventually do go because you have a toothache so bad that you can't ignore it, well, then it's awful. It's really aversive because you've let things get to the point that they're really unhealthy. Well, that's kind of what happens with conflict. So when you realize that, oh, if I actually floss every day and go get my cleanings regularly, sure, every once in a while I might have a cavity, but it's going to be caught really early and it's not going to be a big deal to fill it. But if I ignore it and wait till it's abscessed or I need a root canal, oh, it's going to be awful. Well, conflict is exactly the same thing. If you try and ignore a conflict, it doesn't miraculously go away. No. So if somebody keeps calling you sweetie, and every time they call you sweetie, it's like, oh, it's just like fingernails on a chalkboard to you. Well, if you just keep ignoring that and not saying anything, well, you're going to have to hear it over and over and over. It's not less conflict, it's actually more conflict. And if you see somebody has a flaw in their plan and you know, and you can tell, but you don't feel like you have enough power to say anything, or you don't want to embarrass them in front of other people, so you keep it quiet, well, it's very likely that that problem that you spotted in advance, instead of dealing with it when it wasn't too bad, well, if the plan goes forward and blows up in everyone's face, well, again, you're likely to have some really unpleasant conflict then. Why didn't you tell me? And you might even get the blame for it when, really it wasn't your plan in the first place. But trying to avoid that conflict led to a much bigger conflict in the long run. There are so many different ways that happens, that if you try and avoid conflict in the short term, if you try and take the easy path about how someone's treating you, about, not giving them some feedback they need to have, about not advocating for resources or something that you need to be successful, well, trying to avoid the conflict in the short run is kind of like avoiding a cleaning or a checkup. It's not fun, but it's okay. And what you're going to get in the end is something much more like a root canal. So if you don't like conflict, the best thing you can do is to have that conflict much more quickly, when it's not a big deal, when people haven't got all invested in things, when you haven't had the pain and anguish of resenting somebody for months and months, and then it kind of blows up into something really ugly. The best path forward, if you don't like conflict, is to address the issue really, really quickly, get just little tiny flossing versions of hard conversations, and that way you never have to have the root canal. There are so many more things to think about why we avoid conflict and how do we go through conflict more effectively so it's not so awful, not like a root canal. So check this out.